Hi, I'm Brett with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before this episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversation. We want to help promote a variety of breweries and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer and beer to just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untapped, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to your podcasts. Now stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Brett.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Tyler. And along with us today, you'll never believe it, is producer Maximilian, Max for short.
Look at him. Welcome.
Maximilian.
Yes. So in today's episode, we are going to be reviewing Trestle Brewing Company out of the hometown of the one Bobby Orr, just because I'm a Bruins fan. And that is in Parry Sound, Ontario.
All right. So we're going to be trying two beers today, much like we do with every episode. The first is going to be a golden ale. And this is going to be a huge, ironic kind of shocker to everybody. It is a golden ale.
Wow.
Huge
Amazing.
Shock, right? Lots of surprises coming from this episode. So the second one is going to be called Underpass, which is a Micro IPA.
All right. And to finish up the episode, we're going to talk about our favorite travel destinations and experiences. And what might not be a surprise is Tyler talking about his trip to Asia.
I went to Asia.
Okay, folks. Well, we're talking about Trestle, and just so you guys know, they're located at 9 Great North Road in Parry Sound. The brewery land was purchased in 2015 by two friends from college, Chris and Dave, who are now just a little bit older than what they were in college.
Weird how that happens.
Funny how that happens, yeah.
Another Chris. It's like a popular brewery name, right?
You got to be a Chris, or you got to like beer if you're a Chris.
It's true.
So the land that they actually purchased to build the brewery used to be occupied by one of the largest train stations in northern Ontario. And then after that, it became a fuel oil storage depot. And now, of course, it's used for one of our favorite things, brewing and drinking beer. So
I do like
thank
those.
God for that.
Do like those.
Yeah. So before they bought it, it had actually been vacant for almost 20 years. And it was actually contaminated with hydrocarbons. So they had to do quite a lot of work to bring it up to snuff.
For sure, yeah. So with a process like that, they would have done a huge amount of remediation with the soil and then kind of cleansing the soil and changing it out. So before they could actually kind of build on that land. So after the sale was complete, a full site evaluation cleanup, as I was saying, was undertaken early on. So that's that remediation process as they kind of go through the soil. So they would have had to do a study on the soil, see what kind of contaminants were there, and then remediate the land so that way they would allow them. I've done this before municipal works. That's why you guys are looking at me funny. I've been through this process.
We'll let you run with it. Yes,
You're getting way in depth with this.
Yeah, I've been through the process. So the thing with it is that kind of piece of property, they wanted to take advantage of the great view, the location. So when they built the building into the brewery, they wanted to do it in a sustainable manner. So it was...
Yeah, and I don't know if our listeners have been to Trestle or seen it, but it has an amazing view. It's an awesome location.
Yeah. So
100%.
Have you seen it, Brett?
I've seen it. Yes, I want to be there. We'll go soon.
We should definitely go there. So we kind of talked, Chris. You mentioned about one of the largest train stations on that property. So before we kind of continue, it would be nice of us to actually acknowledge and recognize the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe or the Anishinaabe individuals and the people that were located on that property beforehand. So they kind of, as we kind of go through this, it's nice to do that land acknowledgement. So they're responsible stewards of this land, implementing procedures that minimize our environmental footprint. So we kind of mentioned that and kind of moved that kind of in collaboration together with the environmental friendly and reducing the environmental impact and that remediation of the property to make it environmentally friendly as they move forward.
Correct. Yes, so the brewery itself opened their doors on July 1st, Happy Canada Day, in 2018, and it is actually a 4,000 square foot open concept facility. And since then, the brewery and team has kept growing, and during the busiest season, which I would have to think might be within this time frame because summer, they employ upwards of 50 staff members.
And that's a lot. Like you think a brewery, you'd think regular sized brewery might have like 20 staff at the most at any given time. Like that's a lot of staff members. And also kind of interesting to note, they're coming up on their 3rd birthday just a week after this episode's being released. So happy early birthday to Trestle.
Brett, do you want to sing?
Happy birthday.
We got a line out of him.
You're welcome.
Oh man.
All right, so 2 of those staff members, one is Matt Small, who sent us the beers for this episode.
Nice.
He's a sales manager along with Matt Lyon, who was in the 2nd graduating class from the Niagara College Brewing Program. He has in the past been the head brewer at Twa Dogs Brewery in Scenic and Lighthouse Brewing in Victoria, both BC breweries, before settling back in Ontario at Trestle.
So a little bit of a national kind of span there with the brewery styles, eh?
He's traveled to make beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably a pretty good pulse on those West Coast IPAs that we've talked about previously, right? So maybe bringing those West Coast IPAs this way and having a bit better of an understanding and kind of implementing those into Trestle. So,
yes. So has anybody been to Trestle before? I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier.
I have not been there.
I would agree. And same with producer Max is shaking emphatically in a left-right motion. No.
Has anybody had any of their beers before?
No.
And
producer Max is now going the opposite way, the north to the south, maybe Parry Sound style. Yes. And one
beer for Max.
One beer. I've had a few. I have a friend of mine who ventures up there a little bit. So when he comes back down, he usually gives me some Trestle.
And doesn't
giving me a couple Trestles.
Doesn't supply us with any?
Yeah.
I'll get you guys in on that. I do know another person who's been there. You guys will like this. My wife. It's amazing how she is the only person who's been there out of this whole thing.
So she's been to a brewery that you haven't been to.
That is correct.
Wow.
I've had more beers than her from the brewery, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
She was there for a bachelorette party. Get over it.
We have nothing to get over, but all right.
Yeah.
Right. So from them before, I've had the No Service Mango Sour, which has been very nice. They had a Marzen called Rest Never Sleeps. A Christmas kind of beer because it was called Grinch Tears, which was a Gosa. A Czech dark lager. I'm not going to even try to say the name of it. You can look it up on Untapped and on the
Let's just say it's in a different language.
and their base IPA. Yes, and their base IPA called 30,000 Islands.
All right.
Yeah, and so we mentioned what a great view Trestle has, and they're renowned for having one of the best patios and beer gardens in all of Ontario. So the brewery and the patio itself is actually situated on the Seguin River, and it has an amazing view of the CPR Trestle Bridge and Georgian Bay. It's just like an awesome view.
Right.
I guess that's where you know where they got the name from.
Right.
Yeah.
Trestle, right?
There you go.
Wow. It's nice how that kind of
makes a lot of sense.
It's nice how things come together, right? So producer Max also did mention that he has had the Golden Ale, which we will be having tonight. So this is kind of interesting. And I do enjoy this when we do have an episode, is if somebody has had a beer previously, just to see if the beer holds up. And as we kind of move through our tasting and the plethora of beers that we've had in kind of collaboration of each other, we'll see how that kind of holds up. But one thing to kind of note, I'm going to steal this a little bit from you, Brett, because we know you like to talk about food, but Trestle does serve some food. And it is,
awesome.
Probably on the feast on. So there is, if you go to ontarioculinary.com/feast on, it is certified by the Ontario Culinary Tourism Alliance, which means they are dedicated to sourcing and showcasing some of the best products in Ontario, which is good to know because local ingredients, good ingredients. If you're going to be serving good beers, fresh beers, you might as well have some good food for it too, right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And I've heard the food is excellent, by the way. So hopefully, when we
did your wife tell you that?
Did you? Yeah, did you hear that from your wife?
Okay, yeah. Anyway, moving on. No,
her friend.
I got connections.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Trestle is open 7 days a week from 11 to 9 p.m. So feel free
That's
if
nice.
you need to, if you're up in the area, reserve a spot.
For sure.
Get up there, sit on the patio.
Because you don't see that often from a lot of craft breweries. The full,
correct.
yeah. So that's really nice. The 7 days,
Yes.
11 to 9, for sure.
Yeah, and if you're not in the area, a lot of their core beers are available in LCBOs throughout Ontario, and you might also be able to pick up one of their rotating seasonals. I think they'll throw a few of those into the LCBO. But they also do delivery, so $10 delivery across Ontario with a purchase of $35 or more. But if you're up in the Georgian Bay area, you can get beer delivered to you via the Draft Craft, which is delivered to you on a boat right to your dock.
No way.
Talk about service.
Literally, the boat delivers you the beers. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody operating it.
I would hope so.
An Amazon drone boat?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so all you have to do is input your latitude and longitude coordinates, and they will find you.
Wow.
So I wonder if this is, well, maybe we should look into it more, but I wonder if it's like the same time as like a Canada Post where it might be a couple of days, or whether it's like an Uber Eats type thing where you might get it in an hour or two.
I'm pretty sure it was Thursdays was 1 day. I can't remember all day off the top of my head, but it was definitely 2 days a week. You can
So the way
finagle
that they
there.
keep the beers cold is they just throw them over the side of the boat as they drive it to your longitude and latitude, and then by the time it gets there, it's almost like Just Married, but it's just drunk, and then you have all these cans hanging at the back on strings.
Fun fact, I just watched that movie a couple weeks ago, Just Married, Ashton Kutcher, Brittany Murphy. I really actually did.
Anyway, I don't think that's how they keep them cold, but we'll see how it goes. No. But we're going to link any of their information on social media.
Absolutely. So should we get on to the first beer, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, so we're back, and first we're going to give a big thanks to Matt at Trestle for supplying all the beers on today's episode. So thank you, Matt. Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. So again, the first beer we're going to have is a golden ale called Golden Ale. Perfect. It's got a 5.0 ABV and it has 22 IBUs.
Nice. So this is a flagship beer. It is touted as a crisp and clean ale, modeled after some of the great European Pilsners. This beer is brewed using German Pilsner and Vienna malts, along with a blend of North American and European hops. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and we'll see what we get.
You got her. So they state that this is going to pour golden color. Amazing. Golden ale.
What a shock.
With a very
Quelle surprise!
with a very small touch of haze. Some of the tasting notes include that it will be citrusy, lemony, and floral with a slight bitterness and hop, and also give off a slight honey medium mouthfeel with a crisp, clean finish.
Wow, okay.
Nice. So, of course, as always, on Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. And the overall rating on Untapped for Golden Ale is 3.47 bottle caps out of 5, with a total of about 3,500 check-ins. So, quite a bit of check-ins.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, not bad.
Which you would expect from their flagship beer.
A few people have this.
You
know, 3-year flagship beer in LCBOs, on tap at the brewery, and probably some other beer bars. Few people have had this.
Oh, yeah.
A couple beer bars. And on beer bars, we're going to grab our glass and we're going to grab our can and we're going to let's open her up.
Indeed.
Don't you like that sound, Brett?
It's a great sound, yes.
It's the
Chris,
best
what
sound
glassware
ever.
are we drinking out of?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So we're actually drinking the Golden Ale out of a pint glass today. So make sure to use your proper glassware.
Now, I have a little bit of foam here.
Yeah, I poured heavy. I poured heavy,
I was
and I
going to say,
got a lot of
I
head
think
too.
might have been somewhat to do with the transport of my beers today, but what can you do?
No, because mine was stuck in the fridge too. So maybe it's just your inability to. Oh my gosh! Yeah, look at producer Max.
And producer
doing all right.
Max looks pretty good.
Yeah, you. I'm just.
I think that's just a bad pour by Brett.
Yeah, blaming the transport. Yeah, I mean,
Yes. Anywho,
Here we go.
what's on the what are you guys feeling the nose here?
I haven't smelt it yet because I haven't dealt it, and because of that, I'm waiting for a picture. So I'm trying to get a bit of a head on it so everybody can see that.
I got enough for you here.
Yeah, you do have enough. You do. I'm trying to work up something nice here. Maybe get a nice picture for everybody. But
Okay.
Well, I would say
the head pours nicely.
Yeah, I would say first of all, golden. I mean, it's a gold nail. It certainly pours golden. And also, they mentioned it's a little has a touch of haziness, but I kind of see that as not as clear as like a lager, but it's pretty darn close.
Yep. I would agree. In terms, I'm kind of getting a little bit of floral off the nose as well, and maybe a little bit of citrus.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little bit of honey. I think they mentioned that there's some slight honey there, and yeah, just looking at Tyler's head, that's quite the head as well. I
try to get a bit of head on it. So this is the thing with this is on the nose, it's pretty good. The head retention can be good. It depends how you pour it. Yep. I poured it pretty well to the top, and then I just tilted the can up just to get a good head for the picture. But you can get a nice 2 fingers kind of on this. Again, I agree with kind of the look of it. The golden ale is very golden ale. It is reminiscent of a Pilsner or kind of like a Czech kind of beer as well, right? Mm-hmm. So I can see where they're going with it.
All right. Well,
on the nose, I agree with you guys.
Yeah. Perfect. Now, can we taste the beer, or we got a picture? Like we're good enough to taste the beer now?
No, I'm just waiting for Max to finish his thought here. Just slow and steady. You can tell he's an old school hunt and peck kind of guy on the keyboard. Not really good with the home keys. He
actually only communicates via Morse code.
The comment made from producer Max after we finished his 2nd, 3rd, 4th extra birthday party after typing that thing would be good with the physics machine. So again, we have mentioned the physics machine before. Now, Brett, just before we kind of continue with that physics machine, does the head kind of is it a big head that usually comes out of it, or is it again kind of how you pour it?
Correct. It's you tilt a head for a regular pour and then tilt back to get the head on the back level. Yep. It almost makes it seem like it's a nitro base.
Okay. All right.
That's kind of where we're going. Yeah.
All right. So get drinking it.
Yeah, let's taste it here.
For sure.
Okay. They did say about the slight bitterness and hop. Definitely, I'm getting that, especially the bitterness. You don't see. I feel it's a little bit bitter for golden ale, but definitely got that citrus, that lemony, that honey at the end. It's got everything you need.
I think I see what you see, Tyler. We got a repeat of last episode here.
I can't help it. This kid's keeping more head.
Brett's got a little head retention on that mustache again.
More head on his mustache than he's got on his shoulders. Am I right?
You're not wrong.
It's all in the pour, friends. It's all in the pour.
It is. I looked over and I just couldn't help myself.
Yeah, that's the problem with having facial hair.
We all have facial hair.
More facial hair than you people.
Okay. Yeah. So I see where you're kind of going with that one, Brett, for sure. I'm
definitely getting quite a bit of the lemony-ness if that's a word, lemoniness that they mentioned, as well as some citrus. And I agree with you, a little bit more bitter than I was expecting from a golden ale. They did say 22 IBUs, so I'd say it's probably right on point with that.
I'd agree.
Now, what are you guys getting kind of like an aftertaste? Like, is that the bitterness / lemoniness?
Maybe.
Like there's something that I'm getting, and I don't know exactly how to kind of pinpoint it. It might be that kind of halfway point between the bitterness and the lemon kind of flavor that just it does kind of linger around, and it to me it's not an overwhelmingly great flavor, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would say it's probably a mixture of the bitterness, the lemon, and then even a little bit of sweetness from the honey. I think it's like maybe all of a combination of that. But I agree, there's kind of just something lingering there with no distinct flavor.
Right.
Interesting. So before we go to the top 5 flavor profiles, I just want to touch about the can.
Yeah,
we mentioned this earlier about the draft craft in terms of beer delivery can be done on the boat. It almost seems like somebody might be getting their beer dropped off.
Yeah.
Right? Or
looks
waiting.
Like
patiently waiting.
A lovely dock there, and someone's getting their beers.
Indeed. So in terms of the top 5 flavor profiles, number 1, clean. Do we agree that this is a clean beer? At least.
Yeah, I would definitely chalk it up as a clean beer for myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chris, you feel the same?
Yeah, can't disagree with that.
Okay. Now, does it go down smooth? That's number 2.
Yeah, I think it definitely does go down smooth. And, this would certainly be a beer that I would really enjoy on Trestle's patio.
Oh, I definitely
It goes down so smooth.
You know what? I think I'd enjoy any beer on Trestle's patio for that matter.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Brett.
Even a light beer, since that is number 3 in the top 5 flavor profiles, light. Do we think this beer is light?
I don't know if it's super light. I guess maybe in terms of like compared to an IPA, it's light. But I would say it's what a golden ale is.
I totally disagree with this being light. I almost think this drink's a little heavy. Perhaps could be just on my end. Who knows? Number 4, bright.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the golden ale kind of aspect of it. It is bright. And I just kind of want to make a comment between the 1 and the 4. So we had clean, smooth, light, and bright. I see. I feel like this is kind of like a 90s toy almost. Clean, smooth, light, and bright. Bright light. But when I kind of look at this beers, I see all that. I get it. But it's not really a flavor profile kind of.
Yeah, none of those are flavors, right?
Correct.
Like I get it. It is clean, and clean can equate to smooth. I get it. That's light, but light can equate to bright. So I kind of see those as very similar. Again, nothing's kind of standing out for me at this point.
And I feel like the Untapped community is kind of just because when the beer is originally brewed, just like, oh, it's clean, it's this, and people have just kind of kept tagging that. Which just kind of got us to this point of...
Yeah, because there's a lot of check-ins, right? We said there's like 3,500 check-ins.
Exactly.
So.
And finally, one that actually has a beer aspect to it, hoppy. Do we think this beer is hoppy?
Not overly. Like I still get some of that bitterness as you're saying, but like the over hoppiness, no, I'm not picking up a lot of hops out of it.
Yeah, and I would say I agree with that. But maybe, again, in terms of when you compare it to other golden ales, it's more hoppy.
Yep. So producer Max is kind of jumping in here, saying that he thinks honey and bitterness should be involved in the top 5 flavor profiles versus, light, bright, any other rhyming word that goes with that.
And personally, I would throw lemon in there.
Yeah, lemony, yes. That's a flavor profile. So in terms of some people's Untapped user thoughts on this, Tyler, I'm going to swing over to you for the first one.
Thanks for swinging this way. Johnny S. or Johnny24, which is always nice to see, especially when we're talking about beers, the old 2-4. On June 6th said, refreshing, clean, and crisp. Not usually what I like, though, but decently enjoyable in the sun. Rated at 3.75 out of 5. Now, looking at good old Johnny S's or Johnny24 and their beers that they've consumed, they must have been on a Trestle kick at this time because the first week of June, they had 5 check-ins from Trestle beers.
Must have put
in an order. Yeah.
Look at us.
You guys rehearsed this before, right?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Well, the next one is from Matt B. Halloween Jack is the handle. And Matt commented on May 15th, it pours slightly filtered gold with a thin head and slight lacing. Smell is faint sweet hops. Taste is also sweet, slightly malty, and hoppy. Very good. And Matt gave it also a 3.75 out of 5.
All right. Good for Matt.
Yes,
Good for Johnny.
he did good. And Halloween.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to start our ratings off. I find this a very middle of the road. I don't. There's nothing that's really jumping out for me, so I'm going to give it a 2.75.
Yeah, I feel the same, but I'm going to rate it a little bit higher. I'm just going to go 3.0.
Okay, I'm going to rate it a 3.5. Again, nothing too spectacular, but again, nothing that's taking me out of not wanting to finish the rest of this beer. Producer Max, he's jumped in. Hasn't won the lottery winnings yet, but he did give the beer a 3.25, and that as a team total gives us a 3.125, which I believe, let's go up to a 3.25.
I guess I'm not needed anymore because I've been placed on that team score. So thanks, Brett, for that. Chris, carry us over.
All right, well, we're going to paddle our way on to beer number 2. All right, the second beer we're having today is called Underpass, which is a Micro IPA. Our first Micro IPA on the podcast. So
this is correct.
It's
Good
exciting.
Knowledge.
Yeah. And it carries a 3.5% ABV, hence the micro, and 35 IBUs. And this is a summer seasonal that Trestle puts out.
It's kind of funny because usually we save the higher ABV beer for second, but this one we did not. So this beer is brewed with Galaxy, which is noted as the main dry hop within the beer, Idaho 7, Chinook, and Sapphire, along with Thomas Fawcett Pearl and oat malts. So Pearl is kind of a bready malt, oat is more warm and grainy, and it's combined with a Veridin IPA yeast.
Right. So it's got a different kind of hop profile, and we'll see how that kind of tastes as we kind of go through it. So as you kind of mentioned, this is a low alcohol IPA, which is interesting because we've mentioned that we haven't had anything kind of like this, right?
Yeah.
A 3.5 is very low alcohol for any kind of beer that we've had. And then specifically in relation to the IPA. So again, we kind of hope that we kind of get these hoppy aromas, which you kind of get from the bigger ABV IPAs. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can have maybe 2, maybe 3 of these. It is very, very essential that everybody just, drinks responsibly at the end of the day. But this does allow you to enjoy that IPA kind of flavor and taste without that excessive alcohol high content, right?
For sure.
So it is stated that this beer will kind of pour like more of a straw pineapple color, a bit of a creamy head. And as we kind of discussed with the last beer, I'm not going to get ahead on this thing. I'm not going to get ahead. I'm going to take a picture with a bit of a head. So we're hoping for more of a kind of a creamier head. The last one was very kind of like high in like larger bubbles. We'll see how this kind of portrays itself. It's a soft malt body, kind of that peach, passion fruit, and other kind of tropical flavors that we would get normally from an IPA as well, right? So we'll see how that kind of comes through. And then there's kind of that lingering complementary kind of bitterness. So it is a very traditional IPA, even though it is a micro IPA. I think it's just kind of like an IPA, maybe a bit subdued. Max with the big yawn. There you go, big boy. We'll see how this kind of tastes, and hopefully it does kind of portray that that IPA kind of flavor profile that we're used to, right?
Producer Max, before he yawned, also noted that he might take this as a diet beer.
Possibly. Yeah. I just thought he was yawning because I was speaking, which I'm used to.
Hey, you know what? You've put people to sleep before with your voice. Don't worry.
I get it. That's fine.
All right. Well, for this beer on Untapped, there are significantly less check-ins than the Golden Ale. So there's 115 check-ins for this beer with an average rating, though, of 3.72 bottle caps out of 5.
All right. Glass in hand, we'll speak about what kind of glassware we're using in a bit. And the can on the other hand, let's open her up. Ooh, a little bit of backsplash there on that one. I don't know if you guys got
Yeah.
that. So they filled it to the top. And I think part of that is with respect to trying to ensure that there's not a lot of oxygen and air that gets into this beer. So keep the freshness.
Well, the bright side is that Micro IPA doesn't mean that it's just an empty can.
Yeah.
There's like
That's true.
5
That's true.
milliliters of beer and 468 milliliters of nothing.
Very much like those Lay's Halloween chips you get, where
Yes.
there's 2 in them, but a significant amount of air in them.
Yes,
Yeah,
lots of air in those things.
That would be a huge disappointment. So, of course, Micro IPA. So we're drinking this out of a Micro IPA glass, a very small IPA glass.
Shot glass, if you will.
Yes. No. They don't have those. It'd be cool if they didn't.
Unfortunately, they don't, but just a regular IPA glass, so make sure to use your proper glassware.
All right, let's get this on the nose here first.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks like a regular IPA.
Has a scent of regular IPA. It looks like a regular, almost like a hazy IPA. Again, they were trying to do this beer, make it look like one of those higher ABV IPAs when you get into like the 7, 8, 9%ers.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of the look, they definitely have done that for sure.
Oh, they nailed it. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned with the smell as well, it smells exactly like an IPA.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, the passion fruit, the citrusy, that sort of thing.
You get the passion fruit. I get the peach out of it as well.
Yeah.
Man, if it tastes as good as it smells, we might be in for a good ride here, gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think kind of on that look is maybe it's a little bit lighter on the side of that hazy IPA. Like you're still, don't get me wrong, you're still getting that hazy IPA kind of look on it, but it is maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit lighter. And again, this is on using an IPA glass. So when you're looking at the bottom portion of the glass, it is a little bit more translucent than the top portion. But I do kind of get that on the nose, that same sort of thing. Maybe not so much the passion fruit, but it's there. It is definitely there.
Totally agree. Well, now that we've went through that, can we, maybe taste the beer?
Yeah, let's see if this delivers on the same kind of flavors that a higher ABV IPA delivers
For
on.
sure. Let's get at it.
Maybe not necessarily on a smaller scale, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nice, actually. Yeah. I would say that it certainly does have that, kind of lingering bitterness, or complementary bitterness that they mentioned.
Yeah. It's definitely not lingering.
No, it actually doesn't linger.
It softens out to kind of that peachy kind of flavor, for me at least.
Yes, I definitely agree with you there, Tyler.
But I say it, lack of ABV doesn't mean lack of flavor.
Oh,
for this beer.
Agree.
Yeah.
And
lots of flavor coming through here.
Yeah, and I kind of think that is very important to know, because instead of focusing on that ABV portion of it, and sometimes you get that boozy kind of flavor with an IPA double or maybe even a triple, where you're kind of approaching that 7, 8 to 10 kind of range.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, you can really kind of dial it back and really focus on that flavor profile. And they've done that quite well, actually, with this. And as I said, you kind of mellow that out into that kind of peach. Maybe not so passion fruity. Again, like I stick kind of to that, but I get what they're doing, and it's quite enjoyable.
Yeah, I definitely get that peach kind of right away, and then it follows pretty much straight away with that bitterness. But yeah, it's definitely, it feels like a regular IPA when I drink it.
If you were to say which one has a lower ABV, this one, or give me like a regular IPA, I might have almost guessed the regular IPA in terms of a blind taste test. If you put the can in front of me, I'm going to know.
Yeah, like the Pepsi Coke kind of thing. If you put two of these IPA, honestly, if you kind of take similar kind of IPAs in the hop kind of profile, as well as like the flavor profile of it, it'd be really tough to kind of pick out which one had obviously the more ABV.
Yeah. Now, Brett, this is a really, really cool can. So maybe you want to let everyone know about this can here.
Very colorful. Almost looks like an oil painting of an airplane flying through an underpass. See what I did there?
Makes sense.
But they actually deliver a nice little story for you on the side of the can. So legend has it that during the testing times of the Iroquois engines that were scheduled to power the Avro Arrow, a test pilot in a CF-103 Saberjet flew from Malton to Parry Sound for an underpass of the CPR Trestle. This unconfirmed story inspired the local artist Don Corbett's depiction of the risky maneuver, as depicted in the label of the can.
Nice.
Yeah.
So test pilots often flew to the Parry Sound area. Yes, I got more, don't worry.
Get going.
So that the workers assembling the engines could witness the power resulting from their labor. So which approach would have made the most sense? Heading upstream or down the river towards the Georgian Bay? What do you think?
Well, I'm not familiar enough with the area to comment, but we'll say upstream.
I would disagree with that. Just basically, probably based on the wind streams and the flight path. Down the river probably makes the most amount of sense on this one. Now, I do want to kind of make a bit of a note on this with the history with the Avro Arrow. This is actually a really nice tie-in to great Canadian history, because we don't really see a whole lot with the Avro Arrow. But if these Iroquois engines were going to power that Avro Arrow, we saw what ended up happening with that, right? The project became non-existent, and then we saw a lot of our engineers go to the United States to make their planes and their fighter jets as well. So it's too bad, but it is really nice to see that connection historically.
And they kind of note also that this Micro IPA is a testament to the fact that great flavor does not have to be compromised and can fly well under 4% ABV.
Right.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Small ABV, big powered engines, big power flavor.
Yes.
So
lots of flavor in this beer. And speaking of those,
do you want to go ahead and give it the 5? Or
I'll do it.
Do it.
I like doing this section. Come on. So number 1 is citrusy.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
bang on for me.
get that. Yep.
Now, do we think this beer is dry? That's number 2.
On the finish, I am getting a little bit of a dry kind of like flavor.
Yeah, a little bit for sure.
On the back end for sure.
Yep.
Number 3, light. Well, you'd like to think so. It's 3.5%.
Light on ABV, but I don't think on actual flavor though. Again, it does power itself through.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this a light beer. I think that's coming obviously from the ABV.
Correct.
4 would be bitter.
Totally. I might move that up a bit too.
Yeah, I would too. I think dry and bitter are kind of like my 2, 3. And number 5, floral.
See, I would agree kind of with producer Max on this one. Is more of that pine. Again, kind of sticking with a traditional kind of IPA flavor profile.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I do agree. 100%.
All right, so let's kind of move this into the Untapped users. Chris, you got the first one. Hit us with what Robert said.
Yeah, Robert S. R.J. Stutz on June 5th said, pretty good for a micro IPA, but the lingering piney bitterness is not for me. So obviously Robert getting that pine as well. And Robert gave it a 3.25 out of 5.
So the next one, it's from Andrew H. His user handle is Gump_H. On September 21st, said this was in last year's part of the Underpass. He enjoyed an Underpass while he waited for his Dirty Bird. Now, just so you know.
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry?
Dirty Bird.
I've had a couple beers. I don't know what are we talking about here?
So Dirty Bird actually is a buttermilk marinated chicken thigh coated in seasoned corn flavor and dressed with your choice of mild, medium, or hot sauce. Served in a bun, topped with some coleslaw. So trust me, that sounds good.
That sounds delicious.
Right?
Sounds really good.
I was pretty jealous of the picture that he showed of him waiting on the patio for his Dirty Bird. So the beer, he rated at 4.25 out of 5. However, we did not get a rating on the food.
Probably more than that.
Yes.
That's hard to believe.
And we did obviously know that Trestle has excellent food. So that definitely sounds
Very
excellent.
true.
100%.
Sure.
All right. Well, I'll get us started with our reviews of this beer. I actually really like this beer, and it's kind of getting better as I go on. I'm giving it a 4.0.
4, okay.
Nice.
I'm going to give it a 3.75. Definitely love the flavor of it. Maybe just a little more as we kind of saw in the first Untapped review, getting more of that piney bitterness at the end, which brought my rating down a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So before we continue, before I give these two, and this gives Max a bit of time to do the old mathematics, because we recognize that his 7 button has been sticking a little bit recently. We do want to make a comment that Robert and Andrew, we are going to reach out and obviously add you on Untapped. So we will give you a friend invite, and you will obviously accept it and then send one our way, so we can be friends, and then everybody lives in perfect harmony.
And we can toast each other's beers.
Yeah, and that's what we live for, right? Is toasting each other's beers. So for myself, it's going to be in line very much with Brett. I think it's very good points brought forward as we kind of move forward with this. It's going to be a 3.75. Producer Max is coming in with the lowest rating of all four of us at a 3.5. So not far off. We're kind of all in that same ballpark. So Chris, what does that give us?
That's giving us a score of 3.75 right on the dot.
Look at that.
Yeah.
God. So that concludes our review of Trestle.
Yeah. So stay with us as we continue to go up the stream as we talk about our favorite travel experiences. And unfortunately, you might have to hear me talk about good old Southeast Asia.
So Trestle obviously is known for their outstanding view on the patio, and now that kind of travel restrictions look to be loosening as everybody gets vaccinated, people are going to want to go and see some great views, which has kind of got me thinking, what have been some of our favorite travel experiences? So where have we been to, let's say outside of Ontario, or if you have a good view in Ontario, by all means you can state it, but where have we been to in the past in terms of traveling?
Well, I think we know where Tyler's been.
Yeah.
Gary's No Frills.
That's it.
I thought you were going to say Quad Cities, Iowa, and Illinois.
Chris, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I've been to, I guess, quite a few places in the U.S. Some good memories. There's some fun trips where Disney World as a kid, going with my family. Been to Vegas. Went on our honeymoon to Cancun, which was awesome, and then a trip overseas to London, England. So, so those are some of the nice trips that I've been on.
Nice.
Okay. Wow.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean,
no.
Here we are. Does that include Las Vegas as well? Then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did mention that.
He did mention Vegas,
which is great.
I've also been to Las Vegas. I was there for my honeymoon.
I was just going to say, I was going to tie that in nicely, but I'm glad you did. I have not been to Las Vegas. I opted out of said trip.
Yes, you did.
Yes. So for
Looks
myself,
like that was for the best.
Yeah, I think so. For myself, thank you to Mom and Dad. We did Disney. I guess it was 1996, so I was 6 years old. Did a couple of different trips to Disney since then, as well as obviously, I don't know if anybody's heard, but I went to Southeast Asia for a month.
Oh, you did?
I did.
No, please inform.
I will show some pictures to anybody. I've literally only shown 4 people.
He's got like a whole PowerPoint presentation. So if anybody wants the PowerPoint presentation,
reach
DM us, and we will send you the PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you. It's literally been a heck of a time that only 4 people have seen these wonderful pictures of a month-long trip. Thank you, COVID-19, for doing that. But yeah, I've also been to Italy and Greece as part of a high school trip as well. And I was fortunate enough to spend that time with my father as well. But I would look to kind of in the future here to kind of maybe do something as well. So I've got a bunch of WestJet points, dollars saved up, and look to do something hopefully when travel restrictions kind of loosen. Brett, you're up. You can give yourself.
Yes.
Please talk about Producer Max.
Yes, I will. So myself, I've been to Vegas. I've been to Turks and Caicos, Puerto Rico, somewhere else in terms of the cruise I did 5-6 years ago. So I haven't traveled too much. Most of my traveling has been done for baseball or fast pitch softball, as some people may like to call it. But Producer Max has been reaming off countries he's been to for about the last 6 minutes. I don't even think I can name all the countries he's been to. He does like his cruises.
Let's just say he's been to the Caribbean.
Yeah, I think that
literally
pretty well
every
knocks
single
that
place
off.
around there. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's been to 7 cruises, it looks like. He likes the short stops and on to a totally different place or country. I think the best place I've been, and I know it's not, it is in Canada. It is in Canada. BC.
You are
you
sure?
guys, British Columbia is in Canada. Geography is not my strong suit. I learned that from somebody else. Anyway, so go out to BC. I did a nice little brewery tour back in the day, and man, there's some great views. That sea to sky highway from Vancouver to Whistler, it has to be done. I'm just saying, you guys got to get out there and do it.
Yeah, I have been to Vancouver. I did omit that one, but I don't think when I went, I don't think they had the sea to sky highway yet. But yeah, it's definitely like you fly into the airport and you can see the mountains right away. It's really a nice place.
So, does somebody have any memories that stand out for them?
Yeah, I mean, spending a whole month away was pretty sweet. So I was very, very, very fortunate enough to spend a trip with my father as well as one of my best friends too. So we went Toronto to Manila, Manila to Kuala Lumpur, Kuala Lumpur to Penang, Penang to Vietnam. Penang to Bangkok to Thailand. Thailand to Hanoi, Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh, all the way over to the Philippines, etc., etc., etc.
Oh, he's been dying to get this out.
Yeah. So the first 2 weeks of the month, I spent with my father and my best friend, one of them, Matt, as well as family and friends as well. So we were very fortunate enough to travel to Southeast Asia because they were working over there. And then Matt and myself took the opportunity while we're over there, because you spend 14, 15 hours in a plane ride, you might as well hang out there as well. So we did the Philippines for 2 weeks as well. So that'll be enough of my experiences. Great memories, great friends, great times, great foods, great beers. So,
well, I guess we'd be remiss, Tyler, without saying that you and I traveled to Dunedin, Florida together in 2013 it was a week, I guess, to check out spring training when we thought that the Blue Jays actually had a shot of winning the World Series. Turns out that didn't happen.
Josh Johnson didn't work out well, let me tell you.
No, it was the first year that they had R.A. Dickey, and so we actually got to see his first pitch in a Blue Jay uniform. So 4 games and a Tampa Bay Lightning game, all fairly cheap, and we went to some kind of Japanese hibachi kind of restaurant as well. So it was really good.
And to the beach, and so I guess obviously great memories traveling with you. Obviously great memories traveling with my wife. We've done a few trips. She was with me when I went to London. We've gone to Miami together, and of course our honeymoon in Cancun. So really just I love going on vacation and just kind of getting away from the regular grind of your regular life.
Chris, you didn't emphasize my wife when you said it.
No, that's your job.
Oh, okay. One of my favorite memories, as ironic as it may seem, we were on the cruise ship, and I'm not a huge gambler, and my wife kind of was very intermediate.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Not a huge gambler.
No.
And my wife, very intermediate in terms of gambling. So I was kind of just at the roulette wheel, kind of just put $20 in and said, screw it, right? And it was one of those automated machines. It wasn't like an actual dealer in front of you.
Yep.
So I was kind of just figuring out, okay, what do I press? And all of a sudden he just comes in and presses black. And there was a number too. I can't remember what the exact number it was, but it was a black number. And I was losing my mind on her because I was like, you just literally wasted me $20. And it ended up on that number.
Wow.
It was like $1,000. It was great. Awesome. I never went from being so mad to so happy with my wife in a shorter time frame. So that definitely stands out for me, for sure. In terms of, exactly. In terms of producer Max, he was one of those guys that were also involved in terms of the 13, person pile up in a 98 Dodge Caravan to do a brewery tour in Grand Rapids. And also, one of the other memories would be going to Rock and Brews in California, a really cool bar restaurant.
Nice.
And I knew eventually he was going to shout out the mango cart because
that was coming. We knew that was
we
coming.
knew that had to come because he was in love with that beer. If he could have smuggled 2 million beers of those across the border for us, he probably would have did it.
Probably. So what do we got kind of lined up here? Let's get that, and then we'll move on to the farewell. So, Chris, what do you got?
Well, I think the only big trip that I kind of want to do is certainly do an Italy and France trip. Everywhere I go, I love food as well, Brett, and Italian food. We kind of touched on this before. Italian food, French wine, Italian wine. I just want to try it right from the source.
That sounds like an ideal time. Myself, producer Max, both want to go to kind of Australia, New Zealand. Seems like a great time frame. And on my end, I do want to eventually go to Guatemala. My wife was born in Guatemala. She was adopted here when she was 6 months old. So that is one of those things I do want to do. We want to do as a family when we have kids grow up, is to go to Guatemala and see kind of where she was born.
Yeah, that's great. So the Australia, New Zealand kind of thing for Max, I get that. I've kind of looked at that with schooling kind of aspect of it. Chris, Italy's great. I enjoy myself. You kind of get that same kind of French kind of vibe as well as when you go to Southeast Asia, because they have a huge French influence as well in that area as well. So something to kind of think about as well. For myself, I've always kind of wanted to kind of do the Honduras. I've never done a all-inclusive in my life. I've always planned my vacations and my trips. It would be nice to kind of take a step back and have somebody else plan it and just sit back and relax. I think it's about time. So, Chris, you got one more thing?
I think maybe as a group, we'll go on a trip to the Untapped Beer Festival. I think that's something we're all looking forward to. There we go.
I'll bring
a live
a trailer.
podcast at 9:00 at night after tasting all those beers sounds like a great idea.
And that's all for today's episode.
Thanks again for listening. Keep on listening every other Thursday as Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode, and on our off Thursdays for Producer Special.
Make sure to tell your friends, family, and your favorite flight attendant. When you ride on an airplane again.
For sure. Yeah. So from all of us and producer Maximilian, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris. And together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.